What if fasting is not really about skipping food? What if fasting is about giving your body enough quiet space to switch systems? Because most of us have been taught to think about food in a really simple way: calories in, calories out, eat less, move more, try harder, have more willpower. But the human body is not a calculator. It's a living, intelligent, responsive system, and it is constantly listening to the signals that we send it. Every bite sends a signal, every snack sends a signal, every long stretch without food sends a signal too. And one of the most powerful signals fasting gives the body is this: you do not have to keep burning sugar right now. You can finally access what has been stored. That is the metabolic switch. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about what that means and why it matters and why fasting is not just a weight loss trick. It is an ancient rhythm that can help the body return to metabolic flexibility. So let's consider most of us are not broken. We are stuck in a fed state: breakfast, snack, lunch, snack, dinner, dessert, coffee maybe, and a drink, take the edge off, something like that, and a little bite here and a little bite there. And I'm not saying this with judgment, okay? I'm not. Motherhood, stress, exhaustion, chronic illness, hormones, work, marriage, kids, grief, survival mode. Sometimes food is not just food. Let's be realistic. Sometimes food is comfort. Sometimes food is energy, like legitimately need something to energize us. And sometimes food is the only break that we get during a day. We go, 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 but when we have to eat, we do have to stop. Hopefully, maybe. But biologically, when we are constantly eating, the body is constantly being asked to handle incoming fuel. So, especially sugar and refined carbohydrates. But when we eat, insulin rises, and insulin is not bad, but insulin is necessary. Insulin is a storage hormone. So when insulin is high, the body is being told to store energy and to use incoming glucose, but not to burn much of that stored fat right now. So if we're eating often, like from morning until night, as most of us do, the body may never get much time to actually enter that opposite state, the fasting state. And that really does matter, because the fasting state is where the body begins to shift from using what's coming in to using what has already been stored. Now, this is not starvation. That's not what I'm saying. But this is a design naturally built into our body. So the metabolic switch is the shift from mostly burning glucose to increasingly burning fat and producing ketones. Think of it like a hybrid car. Your body was designed with more than just one fuel system, and glucose is your quick fuel. Fat is the stored fuel. Ketones are like the clean burning backup fuel made from that fat, especially when glucose is not available or the availability goes down. But many modern people are metabolically just super inflexible. That means that the body is so used to quick fuel, just constantly getting it, that it has a hard time comfortably accessing that stored fuel that's inside of you. So when glucose drops, instead of feeling steady, people start to feel shaky, maybe irritable, hungry, foggy, anxious, or weak, desperate for something sweet because they just need the shakes to stop. Now, sometimes it means that the body has forgotten how to switch, and this is where fasting becomes interesting, because fasting is not just not eating. Fasting is training. It gently teaches the body that you can survive for a few hours without constant incoming food. I promise you can. And you can use stored energy and you can become flexible again. And for many people, that is the missing piece. Now, you don't need to be punished, you don't need more dieting, and you don't need to count every calorie. You need metabolic flexibility. Okay. If we're going to understand fasting, we have to understand insulin. Insulin helps to move sugar from the bloodstream into the cells, and that is good. But when insulin is high too often, the body can become resistant to it. And that means that the body has to make more insulin to get the same job accomplished. And high insulin can make it very difficult to access stored fat. Now, this is one reason that some people feel like they're doing everything right, but yet are still stuck. It's not because you're lazy. You're not, and neither are they. There is no moral failing here. Let's not attach laziness to stuck weight. Your body may be metabolically stuck. Fasting can create longer periods where insulin is lower. And when insulin lowers, the body has more opportunity to access that stored fuel. And this is why fasting became so popular in the metabolic health world. It's not because it's magic. It's because it changes the hormonal environment and hormones matter. Now, I want to be very careful here. Fasting is not starvation. Starvation is deprivation without safety, nourishment, and wisdom. Fasting is intentional. Fasting is temporary. Fasting is followed by nourishment. And fasting respects your body. We live in our bodies. Let's not pretend we don't. Because I never want fasting to become another way that you punish yourself. I do not want you doing this as a punishment. I never want a mother, a daughter, a teenager, or someone with chronic illness to hear this and think less food means I'm doing better. Ha ha. No. The goal is not to eat as little as possible. The goal is to restore rhythm. There is a time to eat. There is a time to rest from eating. And there is a time to nourish. There is a time to let digestion be quiet. There is a rhythm we need to learn and listen to and follow. And if you are underweight or pregnant, nursing, or a child, a teenager, or if you're recovering from an eating disorder, medically fragile, diabetic and on medication or struggling to eat, fasting needs to be approached very carefully and sometimes not at all without medical guidance because fasting is a tool. It is not God. It is not your identity, and it is not proof of discipline. It is a tool. When the body is not constantly digesting, it can begin shifting priorities. Blood sugar can stabilize, and insulin may come down. Fat burning may increase, and ketones may rise, and digestive demand it can decrease, meaning you're not as hungry all the time. And cellular cleanup pathways, they can become more active, which is so good for long-term health, not just feeling good each day. Inflammation signaling may also begin to shift. This is why people report that once they adapt, they do feel clearer, less snack driven, and less just controlled by cravings, more steady. But I want to say this carefully again. Not everyone feels amazing at first. Some people feel terrible at first. And sometimes that means that you're adapting if you're struggling with that. But sometimes it might mean that you're pushing too hard. The body whispers before it screams, so we listen. If fasting makes you feel panicked, weak, or obsessive, or depleted, or like you're spiraling, that is not a badge of honor. That is information. The goal is not to force the body into submission. The goal is to partner with your body. One of the biggest differences between ancient human life and modern life is not just what we eat, it is how often that we eat. Historically, food was not available every hour of the day. Just wasn't. There were natural fasting windows. Nighttime was a fasting window. Work was a fasting window. Travel was a fasting window. Religious practices often included fasting, and seasonal scarcity definitely included fasting. But now, today, we live in a world where food is everywhere, right? You know it is. At least for most of the people seeing this video, if you have access to YouTube, you probably have access to food. There's drive-throughs and pantries and protein bars and coffee drinks. How many tiny little coffee shops can we just drive through real quick? My daughter, Clara, the one that's 19, she actually works as a barista at Dutch Coffee Bros or Dutch Bros. Oh, that's terrible. I should be able to say it correctly, but you know what I'm talking about. Because people are always wanting coffee and they want it quick. And they don't just have coffee. I mean, they have all kinds of yummy energy drinks and shakes and lots of stuff. And this isn't even like an ad for them. I'm just saying I'm familiar because my daughter works there, and it is just interesting to hear like how often and how much, and there's always a line and there's always people needing coffee or late night snacks or ooh, convenience foods. We are about to get a quick trip. Which is so silly. And again, I'm not connected to Quick Trip. Obviously, but near where I live, maybe like a mile away, we're getting a quick trip and we're excited because they're quick and they're easy and they're tasty and they're yummy and it's going to be popular and all the teenagers are thrilled. There's food everywhere, but think, is it really good? I don't know. I'm not saying this with shame. I like Quick Trip. I like Dutch Bros. I think it's tasty. But I am saying that we are living in an environment that our bodies were not designed for. So fasting, when done wisely, is one way of bringing it back into a rhythm that we've lost. Not because food is bad, it's not. But food is good. So why would we want to not eat it all the time? Constant feeding is just not what the body was designed to do. If you are brand new, I want to start, well, I would not start with extreme fasting, okay? I would start with an overnight fast. Close the kitchen after dinner, right? Clean it up, do the dishes, close the fridge and the pantry, and don't go back unless it's to get maybe some water. Because obviously you might get thirsty. Water's fine. You can still have some water. But close the kitchen after dinner. Let your body rest overnight. Then gently stretch breakfast in a little bit later into the morning. If your body does okay, going all night, if that's not your typical and you don't normally go all night, that's your first step. Have dinner and then don't have a snack later in the evening. And if you wake up in the night, only have a little bit of water, maybe use the restroom and try to go right back to sleep. Okay, if that's what you've done, gently stretch breakfast, like I said, later into the morning. And for many people, the first healing step is not a 3-day fast. It is simply no late night snacking. Then maybe 12 hours. Go a full 12 hours from have dinner at 6 p.m. and not again anything until 6 a.m. the next day. If that is longer than you typically go, that's your start. Okay. Do that. And then if that's successful, the next day, maybe dinner at 6 and don't have breakfast till 7 or 8. Gradually expand. The point is not to win a fasting contest. No one's competing here. And during your eating window, I want you to be sure and nourish. All right. Gradually increase your time of rest that you haven't eaten. And when you do start to eat again, I want you to have some protein, healthy fats, something with minerals, whole foods, colorful plants if you tolerate them well, enough food and enough electrolytes and enough care to really allow your body to feel that it had a nice rest, not that it was being punished. One of the reasons I love the topic of fasting is because it's not new. It is ancient. Before it was trendy, it was sacred. People fasted to humble themselves, to seek God, to mourn, to repent, to prepare or to listen if they're looking for wisdom. And they did it to remember their dependence on their creator, on God. And I think there is something beautiful about that because modern fasting often says, how do I hack my body? Hmm. But ancient fasting asks, what am I making room for? That question changes everything. Maybe fasting is not only about removing food. Maybe it is about removing noise, removing constant consumption, removing the belief that every discomfort must immediately be silenced. And maybe in that quiet space, the body can speak and maybe God can too. For me, fasting is complicated. This is my Rebecca Gordon filter of fasting because I know what it's like to live in a body that feels fragile. I know what it's like to wonder if the food is helping or hurting. And I know what it's like to have multiple sclerosis and feel like every choice matters. So I do not approach fasting casually, and I do not teach it as a cure. I teach it as a rhythm worth understanding. This is a language you need to know because there is a difference between fearfully withholding food and wisely creating space for the body to do the rest. There is a difference between punishment and peace. There is a difference between obsession and rhythm. That is the heart of this series. So here is the big idea. Fasting works when it works because it helps the body switch from fed to fasted, from glucose to fat, and from constant digestion to repair, from crashing and driving and crashing again to just metabolically flexible pathways, from noise to quiet. But fasting must be paired with wisdom because the goal is not emptiness. The goal is restoration. The goal is not to see how long you can go without food. The goal is to help your body remember what it was designed to do. So maybe this week, do not start with something extreme. Don't see how long you can be hungry. Don't do that. Start with awareness. Ask yourself, how often am I eating? Am I truly hungry when I do eat? Or is it a stress response? Do I give my body quiet time overnight? When I do eat, am I actually nourishing myself? That is where healing begins. Not with shame, but with awareness, and not with punishment, but with rhythm. And if this episode helped you, I would love for you to subscribe and follow along with the fasting project. There's going to be more episodes to follow. You can also visit my website, URworthitHealth.com, the letter U, the letter R, worthithealth.com. Or I have a brand new book I just published under my name, of course, Rebecca Gordon, and it's called Finally Understand Multiple Sclerosis. And there's a lot of wisdom in there about the causes and I'm not going to say cure, but yeah, ways that could cure, that could help. Check it out. You can find it on Amazon. You are worth caring for. I promise you are. And your body is worth understanding. Sometimes it begins with simply giving your body room to breathe. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you in the next one.